Okay, going live. Hello. I'm going to jump right in because I am going to save this, as always, to my Instagram feed, and I also post it up on YouTube this following Monday. So I'm excited for today. I'm talking about the power of intention, and I'm going to end with a guided meditation that's going to put all the things I'm talking about together. But at first, I want to explain how to use the power of intention specifically for manifestation to create the life of your dreams. It's in such a powerful part of manifestation that isn't talked about a lot in the manifestation world. So I'm excited to talk about this. A lot of what I'm going to share at the beginning is from the teachings of Dr. Wayne Dyer. I'm also incorporating other spiritual philosophers and manifestation experts on this subject. So it's jam-packed full of value today. So I'm really excited for this one because it's been a really crucial part on how I have manifested and created the life of my dreams. And I think it'll be valuable for you guys to use these things as well and to know these things, because the more we know, the more power we have to really use it in a way that is effective, if you will. So first, I want you guys to understand that when I talk about intention when it comes to manifestation, and if I'm looking over here, it's because I have my notes, because I want to make sure I don't miss anything. But when I'm talking about the power of intention when it comes to manifestation, it's less about doing, right? It's less about doing and actions, and it's more about aligning with the intention of source, right? So we all come from, and in this video and this live, I'm going to be talking about source energy, and I'm going to call it God. So you can call it whatever you want to. So when you hear me say that, if that doesn't resonate with you, the term God, you can use the universe or your values or whatever you choose to call God or source energy, right? I'm going to use the term God because that's what resonates with me. But just know, feel free to, that is interchangeable, right? It's all language. But intention really is about aligning with the intention of God. And the old school folks, they call that God's will, right? We want to understand that we come here co-creating. So when we're manifesting things, we are co-creating with God. It's not just us controlling the whole thing and controlling every aspect of it. It's really this co-creation process that is what manifestation is. So when we're intending, we want to align with the intention of God. And you might think, well, don't we have free will? Yes. Our free will is to align with this energy or to not. That's where our free will comes into play. And when we're not aligned with it, we're more aligned with things like ego. We're more attached to things like what we do, defining who we are, and other defenses of the ego that keep us separate from God, keep us separate from source. But when we're aligned with the intention of God, God's will, however you want to say it, source energy, source's intention, we're more aligned with manifesting with ease, manifesting in a positive way, and creating the life that we want. And you might think, well, if we're doing God's will, how are we creating the life that we want? Well, what we want comes directly from God. So that is given to us and implanted in us from our higher self that lives within. That inner divinity is kind of sparks that inspiration for the things that we want in life. And the more that we can align with the intention and the will of this source, the greater we can manifest what we want and the faster we can get what we want. So when I talk about intention, yes, I'm going to talk about setting intentions in our own will and our own self-will, but first and foremost, I want to talk to us about really aligning with the intention of source. And that's what Dr. Wayne Dyer talks about in his book, The Power of Intention. And I want to talk a little bit about that today because he lays it out really beautifully how we can align with this intention power in order to create the life that we want to create, this life of abundance, right? So you want to be pulling from this energy of source. You want to be pulling and summoning the intention of God versus creating resistance to it through things like ego or doubts or any other type of resistance, like negative emotions that keep us separate from that source, right? We want to be pulling from that intention, pulling from that will to navigate our own lives so that we can manifest with ease and in a positive way and be living life in deliberate creation versus by default. And he lays out, Dr. Wayne Dyer lays out the phases of intention that we're connecting with in a very beautiful way. And this really helps us reach self-actualization. It helps us show up in this world how we want to be in a way that naturally helps us manifest. So the more we can connect with these phases of intention that he lays out, the more that we will be living a life and becoming a person that just emanates what we want to manifest and emanates this God energy, this source energy. So these 7 phases of intention, the more we connect to them and embody them, it more speaks to connecting to this intention that helps us be this person rather than do these things, which is why I said in the beginning, this power of intention when it comes to manifestation is less about doing and it's more about being. And the way that we be in a way of intention is to connect with our source, connect with our God's intention, right? So what we want comes from our inner spirit, and the more that we can align with the intention of this inner spirit, the faster and the easier that we can manifest. I just want to hit that home to make sure it makes sense. If it doesn't make sense, be sure to write down in the comments. I always get back to my comments, or follow me here on Instagram. DM me. I would love to have a conversation. If you want to talk about it more, my Instagram name is @_Tiffany Shelton if you're watching this on YouTube. So let's get into the 7 phases of intention, of God's intention that we are going to be connecting with and embodying on an everyday basis. This is what we're striving for, right? The first one that he talks about is creativity. So creativity, our God, our source, our universe is always creating, always bringing more forth, and always in this space of creation. And the more we can align with creativity, that intention, the more we can manifest. And so, in fact, when we are creating, the first part of that is usually to be inspired. And as Wayne Dyer describes, that inspired comes from the word in spirit, right? It's being in tune with our spirit. We get that spark, that idea, and then our creativity is the outlet that we fulfill that inspiration, that in spirit notion that comes to us. So that first phase of intention that we're aligning with is creativity. The more creative we can be in our lives, in our relationships, and our problem solving, the more we're going to align with source energy and fulfill that intention and that will. The next phase of intention that he talks about is kindness. Kindness is such a big piece of manifesting because it puts out into the world what we want to get back. Wayne Dyer tells the story or the research of when we are kind to someone, when we help someone, that increases their serotonin levels. So that's that feel-good hormone in their brain. But it also increases our serotonin levels, the person that is giving the kindness, and anyone that is watching or observing someone being kind. So it's so powerful that the person receiving kindness, the person giving kindness, and anybody watching that interaction they're all gonna increase their serotonin levels, because that's how powerful kindness is in our brains, right? And it's also a large part of source energy that we want to connect to is that kindness. So that's the second phase of intention, is kindness and tapping into the godlike quality of kindness. If you think about our source, whatever you call it, the universe, God, there's that kindness aspect, right? And that's something that we want to really tap into so that we can align with that intention of God, God's will. If you're just joining us, I'm talking about the intention for manifestation. The first piece of that is not so much about doing as far as intending, but aligning with the intention of our source, whatever you want to call that. Choose to call that God. And there's 7 faces that we can align with when it comes to intention of source that will help us be that intention more than do that intention. And then we'll get into more about, the practical side, the piece of the doing. But right now we're talking about the being that intention, being that God's will, and choosing to align with source energy and the intention of God as we co-create what we want to create in this world. The first way to do that is to align with the creativity that is source. God is always creating, always bringing forth more into this world. And if we can tap into that, we can align and manifest so much easily. The second phase of intention that we are going to align with is God's kindness. And we're going to tap into the how good it makes us feel as human beings to be kind. It's innate within us. And if we can tap into that, we're going to tap into that creative, abundant manifesting energy. The third phase of intention that he talks about is love. God is love. The universe is love. If you ever use the phrase "the universe has our back," that's what that phrase is speaking to, is how source energy, that higher power, is always looking out for us, and that love. And what's really important for us, a lot of us self-critical people, to realize is that includes self-love. You want to be loving of yourself, not doubting of yourself, not judging of yourself, right? And not judging of other people, of course, not competing with other people, because that's not the energy of God that we're tapping into to create this life that we want. If we're tapping into God's intention, God's will, that love is going to be pure, and it's not going to have things like judgment and competition. It's all about wanting the best for other people. And the more we can be that and emanate that, we're going to flow with our abundance, right? The next phase of intention is beauty. So beauty is something that can go with creativity a little bit, but more so when we talk about intention and manifesting and aligning with beauty to connect with our higher power, it's more about seeing the beauty in everything and everyone. So I'll repeat that. If we want to connect with source and God's intention, and doing that by embracing beauty, tapping into beauty, we want to see the beauty in everything and everyone. And that includes seeing the beauty in difficult situations. That includes seeing the beauty in yourself when you have made a mistake and giving yourself grace, right? That includes... he tells the story of, Viktor Frankl in the book Man's Search for Meaning. He is a Holocaust survivor, and purpose and meaning is how he kind of survived that situation, because his purpose was he wanted to go on and tell his story. And one of the things that happened to him there was he was fed hot water and like a fish head in this hot water while he was there, and that was supposed to be his meal. And he talks about in his book finding the beauty in that soup. So if a Holocaust survivor who is getting these horrible rations for food can see the beauty in this soup and the appreciation, and take appreciation in that and actually manifest surviving that, how dare we not be able to do the same? And in fact, being able to tap, my baby is good, hello. Being able to tap into that ability to see the beauty in everything. And speaking of my baby, having 2 under 2 is hard. And a lot of the ways that I get through some of the hardest moments is gratitude and taking in the good. If you know Dr. Rick Hansen, he talks about hardwiring our brains for happiness, right? And he talks about our ability to take in the good, to find those small miracles in everyday life. And that's kind of what this beauty phase of intention is all about. It's about how can we always be looking for the beauty, the silver lining in every situation and in everyone. This baby is named Christian. He is my own little miracle. He was born on April 2nd, on Good Friday. His name is Christian, and he had a lot of symbolic things around him, so he's my little angel, and I see the beauty in him every day. So far we've been talking about connecting with the intention of source in order to manifest, and there's 7 phases of source energy intention that we're trying to connect with, as far as who we are being in this world, how we're showing up in this world. And so far we talked about connecting with our creativity, connecting with kindness, connecting with love, beauty. And then the fifth phase is expansion. So God is always expanding, spirit is always expanding, and you can feel like our inner spirit restrict when it sends us negative emotion. So if we're going to connect with our higher power, right, in order to connect with higher power's intention, because we're co-creating with our higher power, we also want to be ever expanding. And when we're not, our inner spirit, the God that lives inside of us, will send a signal through negative emotion, whether that's frustration, sadness, anxiety, to say, I feel restricted. This is not bringing me closer to what I want in this life, right? And what we want is sent to us from our higher power as well. So if we are moving towards what we want, we're going to be feeling positive emotion. And if we're moving further away from what we want to manifest, we're going to feel negative emotion. So the way to really embody this intention is to really face any resistance that shows up, face any doubt as resistance, really face that ego, any ego energy that's showing up. If you're feeling attached to ego, which is, identifying with what you do, feeling defensive in certain ways, detach from that, figure that out, and really allow yourself to continue to expand by vibrating high. The next phase of intention that we're going to be connecting with is unlimited abundance. So that abundance mindset, that's something that is pretty easy to understand, that we want to emulate in our everyday life, is how can we have a mindset of abundance versus scarcity? How can we tap into what God is like, which is ever abundant, ever flowing, and release ideas and limitations and beliefs that are founded in scarcity? If we want to align with the intention of God's will, source's intention, we're going to have to tap into the abundance of our source, which is ever giving and ever abundant. And then the last thing that we're going to be tapping into when we're connecting with source intention is receptivity. Someone said, that's what I'm trying to work through, my money blocks. Yes, and that's going to be very important. Nice. Thank you. And thanks for watching Create Bliss. Working on those money blocks is going to allow you the freedom. And the more we do any type of conscious work, the more we're going to align with our higher power. And it's not something that we're ever going to, be done with, right? We're never going to live a life where we never feel negative emotion or never encounter resistance, but it's our ability to work through it, continue to expand, continue to be conscious of it, continue to evolve and have less reaction to it, not let it bring us down as much, the more that we are going to elevate and live the lives that we want. So proud of you. Keep doing the work. That's what it's really all about. And then that last piece of receptivity, it is about really being open. And as a psychologist, I'm kind of trained in this, but being open to other people and experiences, and allowing that will create a sense of, how can I describe this? Empathy, understanding, validation when you're with other people. You want to show up in the world in a receptive way, that when you encounter another person, you look them in the eyes. You want to know more about them than you share about yourself. You're kind to them. You are listening to them. You're invested in them doing well. You're receptive to how they're showing up in this world, even if you can't control it and you want them to show up in a different way. It's really receiving people, receiving life on their terms, and being open to it, while still manifesting what you want in this world. As a psychologist, I do this for a career in many ways, but also in my life when I show up, and when I show up on YouTube or on Instagram Live, or walking down the street, I want to receive people where they are, and I want to come from a place of really being open to them and allowing people to feel inspired and safe and validated in my presence. So those are the 7 phases of intention that you're going to align with in just your being in order to manifest what you want. And so that's the being part, and you'll start to see the more that you embody those things, and maybe I should say them again just to wrap them up: creativity, kindness, love, beauty, expansion, unlimited abundance, and receptivity. Those are the 7 phases of intention. The more you align with that and emanate those things in your everyday life, you're going to see things just flow to you effortlessly. Those are some doing that kind of conscious work and of the being and the everyday life and aligning with that sort of energy of intention of God's will really changed the game for me when I started intentionally applying manifestation techniques, and it made me a happier person. It made me someone that people wanted to be around, people felt safe around. So that's something that you will see is going to really shift the way that you show up in the world and the life that you create as a result. Things are just going to be so much easier, right? And if you haven't read the book, The Power of Intention by Dr. Wayne Dyer, get that book. That needs to be the next book that you read because it's very, very powerful. Now, I want to move into how you can use intention in your everyday life. I want to say more intentionally, but I guess more purposefully, by setting intention. So as we talked about aligning with God's intention in our everyday life, we can do that more by starting to be more intentional in the way that we live our life so that we can live life deliberately and not by default, okay? Oprah says that intention is one with cause and effect. Intention is the cause and our lives are the effect. So whether you know your intention or not, that is in effect causing the life that you're living. So intention is one with cause and effect. So the more that you can understand that and use it in your life, the more powerful and empowered you will be to create the life that you want to live, right? So it'll help you shift from letting life live you to you are the one in the driver's seat living life as you take that journey towards manifesting what you want, okay? Gary Zukav said, and I'll read this to you guys, "You are a powerful and creative and compassionate spirit. If there's a distance between how you show up, then this is your work, this is your spiritual path," okay? So you want to take a look at how you're showing up in the world today and how you want to be, more specifically, really understanding your power as a creative being to create the life you want. If there's any difference between those two things, you can use intention to move them closer, and you can set intentions in your life to be able to have that power. I set my intention daily and even like different segments, which I'll move into next in my life. And as Deepak Chopra says, intention, I think I have it right. Intention orchestrates its own fulfillment. It's kind of like when you set a goal, where as human beings, it's wired in our brains to move towards that goal, even if you don't say it out loud. If you say it out loud, if you write it down, it makes it more powerful, more easy. But even if you don't, that's just the way that our brains are wired. That's the way reality is wired. Thoughts impact our behaviors, and they both affect our emotions, which then affects our realities, and it's like this cycle, right? So intention is very powerful in that way. I have a video coming out this Thursday on Abraham Hicks' segment intending, which goes into a little bit more on how to use setting intentions in your everyday life. But it's segment intending is a tool that you can use for deliberate creation versus living your life by default. And Abraham Hicks, they describe segment intending. It's really just every time there's a different intention for a part of your life, or a different segment of your life, you want to set an intention for each segment. So if you move into a different part of your day or a different part of your week that has a different intention than the previous one, you want to be consciously set that intention, right? So if you are having breakfast with your family, your intention might be to feel connection and be present and make good food, right? And as you get in the car to drive to work, you might have a different intention. So you set an intention for your drive, right? My intention is to drive safely, is to enjoy the drive, to be present, to not get road rage, all those things. But you probably should focus on the positive. So I want to be at peace as I drive. So that is how you segment it. Again, if you are not subscribed to my YouTube channel, that video is coming out on Thursday. It's linked in my bio here on Instagram. And if you are on YouTube, just subscribe and you will see it on Thursday, especially if you hit that notification bell. But really, what I want you to know from this is to take the time, and you'll see on my IG story every day, I set my intention to really help you be in control, be the navigator of how you want your day to go. And you'll realize that as your brain shifts towards that intention, that goal, it'll be easier for you to create what you want in your life. Someone said, yes, thank you. So I'll talk more about segment intending and how to use that practically on Thursday. But what I want you to know here is really that cause and effect intention is very powerful in creating the effects that you want in your life. So take time. I like to do it at the beginning of the day just to make sure I do it. And then I try to do it throughout my day. I also set intentions for my months with the way that I plan, and my weeks, my quarters. So I live a very intentional, purposeful life. And again, you would probably want these intentions to line up with your higher power, to line up with your purpose, to line up with your larger goals for the year or for your life. And they're kind of just breaking it down so you kind of stay on track with that. So you stay on that path of what it is that you want, because that's what it's really all about. You deserve the life that you want to live. And intention is going to be one of the most powerful tools in getting there. And you'd be surprised how effortless it really is. It's not like you have to set that intention and then got to remember all day or refocus on it. It really sets the tone, and your brain kind of, rearranges itself around that. That's just the way our brains are wired. So I just want to end by taking a moment to do a meditation that kind of puts all of this together. If this little one will cooperate, we might have him in the background. And if you can't watch it now, you can watch it later. You can save this and come back to it. But I want you to just take a moment to get comfortable. Close your eyes if that's helpful. And I want you to begin to focus on your breath. I want you to notice the inhales. Notice your exhales. And for just a moment, just get grounded in this moment, being present with your breath. Try to relax your shoulders, relax your jaw, relax your eyes. And whatever position that you're sitting in, I want you to just sit a little bit deeper. Sit in the pose of whatever you're in and let yourself just sink down as you continue noticing your breath. Now, I want you to take a moment to connect with your higher self, your higher power, that inner divinity that lives inside of us all, the observer, the part of you that is noticing your thoughts right now, that is noticing your emotions right now, the part of you that is noticing how your body feels. Tap into the peace of this higher self Tap into the abundance of this higher self. Tap into the calmness of your higher self. And as you sit here being the observer, I want to affirm the intention of your higher spirit. I want you to think to yourself, I am creative. I am kind. I am love. I am beautiful. I am ever expanding. I live a life full of abundance. And I am receptive and open to what comes my way. Continuing to breathe in and out. And if you've noticed that your thoughts have drifted back, just come back to me without judging yourself. Take a deep breath in. Take a deep breath out. And take a moment to set an intention for your day. For the rest of this day, what do you intend? Take a moment to visualize the rest of this day, how you want it to unfold. What do you want to feel? How do you want to be? Take a deep breath in. Take a deep breath out. Slowly open your eyes. Shake out your body. Come back to this moment. Thank you so much, guys, for joining me today. I hope my intention for this IG Live, for this video, was to share with someone, and I hope that anyone got this message, how powerful intention can be in creating the life that you want. I hope that someone received that, and I appreciate you guys joining me again. Please just DM me or write in the comments. Thanks for all the support and just showing up and being you. I'm going to show the baby because someone asked me to show the baby. He's sleeping. And until next Monday, namaste.